All the money in the country. Now, the speaker and the general speaker, they are playing. The generator for emergency. Tomorrow, we can say you know what I feel? You know what I feel? But you don't know. Well, why is that doing?
Touch on the issue of the threshold bill that was passed recently, and then a motion of reconsideration was taken by one of our colleagues, which sparked heated debates around here. You know, on the 9th of December 2025, the House of Representatives passed on this bill and sent it to the Senate for concurrence. This bill was crafted following the submission of the 2022 census results, which puts Liberia's population at around 5.2 million plus. And this submission was done to satisfy the constitutional requirements that are enshrined in Articles 80D and 80E. In 80D, it says as the legislature shall prescribe in keeping with population growth, a movement as reviewed by the National Census.
Is Magdala Cooper. I'm the senior political advisor to His Excellency Joseph Yima Boakai, President of the Republic of Liberia. But I also happen to be the spouse of the Speaker.
The example of our President, His Excellency Joseph Boakai. This is why we are here. Let me be on record. This is the National Archive of the Republic of Liberia. That is the nucleus of Liberia. Go. Everything that Liberia needs to reflect on the historicity, how Liberia was built, we have it here. But the central government has forgotten about it. And we will continue who will speak. Mercy. In a while we're here.
Coming from the executive.
I say, I don't know why the president chose to think about football academy right after the exit of the footballing president. President Boakai had never, I don't think he even played in his elementary school. To sit and decide that you're going to play a football academy, something that was being done by President Weah, who is celebrated around the world as who is celebrated in Africa. We think that is a serious challenge. That's a serious challenge. Everyone should watch that, because if this woman go ahead and build a football academy, and when he background in football after the exit of the football president, that clearly speaks to the fact that football was not a priority on George Weah.
A LOTE approved by the legislature. If you spend $10 million on a government project, which institution funded it? It also lends credence to some of the things people have said, that some of the money hitting the budget. For example, they're spending $1 million for Foya Hospital. What's the population of Foya? $1 million for Foya Hospital, but there are more people in Basso. There are more people in Magidi. So how do you allot money? There's a lot more money being spent for Kolahun Hospital. And there is also money being spent for Current Hospital in Zozo. So this year's budget is spending almost $2 million on hospitals in Foya. Are they getting those money, in Lofa, are they getting those money to go back for it and spend on other projects?
Amrekun, distinguished colleagues, I want to say good morning to every one of you, and thank God that we in 2026. I mean, this is a very pleasant morning. All we can say, we want to tell God thank you for life. He has given us another breathing space. However, I am reminded of the conversation that was in the chat room yesterday where the speaker validated that Cecilia Bokun is his biological sister. That leads us to the fact that Richard Kun, at this point in time, you should recuse yourself, that you have committed crime under our marital law, the domestic law of this republic, that incest is a crime. So until we get reasons why you marry your sister, I think you have lost legitimacy to preside as speaker. So it is just the right thing for you to recuse yourself. And one thing, there are a lot of colleagues
The asset recovery team, the head of our council and Edwin Martins, has filed a petition before Criminal Code Aid are seeking for some crucial document from Clark Hole Foundations, which is owned by the former First Lady, Clark Weir. And based on that petition that was filed before the court, Clark Foundations, held by authority, had questioned the petitions that were filed, petition for a rate of subpoena, the city con calling on them to produce documents that led to the constructions of this building. And according to the resistance that they filed, calling on the court to quash it because it violates the constitutional right, and a criminal laws then, and they cannot produce evidence against itself. These were the arguments the lawyer make before the court about a former associate justice, Awaken Right, and considered Geneton massacre that they filed before the court. Based on these arguments that were heard, the pros and cons, the court finally ruled today, and from the court ruling, Clark Foundation suffers its legal setback, meaning that the petition to quash the entire rate of subpoena was denied, and they were given 1 week to produce the document, meaning that the action they filed to quash is not legally sound before the court, looking at all the law that was acted by Judge Elizabeth Willett, who is presiding over Criminal Code A, and who happened to be the resident judge of Criminal Code A. But following the ruling, the respondent's lawyer, which is Clark Foundations, Waking Right, took an exception to the court ruling and announced an appeal to the Supreme Court consistent with Chapter 24, Section 24.1 of the Criminal Procedure Law. And by his exception to the court ruling, the court granted it because appeal is a matter of law. So based on the court ruling, I placed a stay on that identical decision that was taken by the court, ordering the management of Clark Foundation to submit all documents to the court that is needed by the asset recovery. And from the court adjournment, we just talked to the area chief. He said they are troubled by the appeal they took to the court, and they remain confident that before the full bench, they can definitely get a verdict in this because everything that they filed before the court is consistent with law, though the adversary have some exception to that, but they remain confident that they can make a victory before the court, though they say that they are not celebrating now. But I believe they are taking one step in connection to the action that they filed before the court, so that is where we are now.
The speaker, the general speaker, they are playing. Tomorrow, we can say you know what I feel? Let But why is that doing? No. So I want to
Such on the issue of the threshold bill that was passed recently, and then a motion of reconsideration was taken by one of our colleagues, which sparked heated debate around here. You know, on the 9th of December 2025, the House of Representatives passed on this bill and sent it to the Senate for concurrence. This bill was crafted following the submission of the 2022 census result, which puts Liberia's population at around 5.2 million plus. And this submission was done to satisfy the constitutional requirements that are enshrined in Articles 80D and 80E. In 80D, it says each constituency shall have an approximately equal population of 20,000 or such number of citizens as the legislature
that the Asset Corp team headed by Councillor Elvin Martins has filed a petition before Criminal Code Aid are seeking for some crucial document from Clark Hole Foundations, which is owned by the former First Lady, Clark Weir. And based on that petition that was filed before the court, Clark Foundations held by its authority subpoena a rate of subpoena the city court, calling on them to produce documents that led to the constructions of this building. And according to the resistance that they filed, calling on the court to quash it because it violated the constitutional right and it criminalized them. And they cannot produce evidence against themselves. These were the arguments the lawyer made before the court held by former Associate Justice Awaken Wright and Councillor Jonathan Massacre that they filed before the court. Based on these arguments that were heard, the pros and cons, the court finally ruled today. And from the court ruling, Clark Foundation suffers a legal setback, meaning that the petition to quash the entire rate of subpoena was denied, and they were given 1 week to produce the document, meaning that the action they filed to quash is not legally sound for the court, looking at all the law that was cited by Judge Elizabeth Willett, who is presiding over Criminal Code A, who happened to be the resident judge of Criminal Code A. But following the ruling, the respondent's lawyer, which is Clark Foundations, Waken Red, took an exception to the court ruling and announced an appeal to the Supreme Court consistent with Chapter 24, Section 24.1 and 2
Indeed, we got major headlines, major stories in your area, and we like to say a pleasant good evening from Liberia. This is the round table. We are here on Tuesday and Thursday, making sure to bring you all of the information you need right on your screen. My name is William McGill, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the program. It's a great pleasure to be on here, and electricity is a serious problem for us nowadays, and yeah, but again, it's good to be here, and we're making sure we can be able to bring you the show as promised, and we are working in our week ways. So let me welcome all of you to the program, and thanks for being there. What's on our menu for today? And let me come on with our talking points. We basically going to look at the Supreme Court decision on the Clarias Foundation case with the asset recovery team, and we will dive a little bit into that. We will be very mindful because it's also a legal situation that we don't want to get something mixed up of the situation, and at the end of the day we get ourselves involved into so many questions per our discussion. But whatever we say will be of our own views, and it's not something being political. So we'll also look at the arrival of the earth moving equipments there by the government. The first batch arrived. We will talk about that as well, and several other issues that we will run through. But let's take this break. Once we get back, I will bring you trending stories across Liberia, and then we can move ahead.
How many people do you love? How many people do you cherish? How many people do you help out there? Most especially women. No job, no money. No cause, no glory. No help for women. That's what we know. We got bigger than money. We got bigger stories. There is no job, no money for hustlers. We got bigger headlines. We got bigger stories.
Okay. Welcome back to the show tonight, and let's run around with things we need to talk about, especially issues that are making news. And before we jump into our talking points, and we are getting reports of serious accident there in Banga, Bon County, and we hope that the situation and those involved can, how we are say this, be safe in as much as is accident, and we hope and pray that they get some quick intervention by the hospitals and clinics nearby. So the foreign ministry is currently in a diplomatic economic forum there in Brussels, and they are trying to advance trade and investment partnership in Belgium. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, conveyed this landmark with the European Union, and they want to widen the economic diplomacy forum in Brussels, bringing together business leaders and from across Europe and high-level government to business. That's the G2B, government to business, and business to government, B2B negotiations. So there were several things that Madam Beslo Yangti is doing, and she said that in the forum, and I can say this, right. The foreign minister is one person that is actually proven to the public that she's worth of her appointment by President Joseph Boakai. I'm saying this to say that we are not trying to bomb off other politicians to say whatever we want to say, but the fact remains that the lady is actually working, and it's just few things that needs to be done. And I tell you for free that basically we can have a great Liberia, because as much as we are building our diplomatic relationships and strengthening ties with other countries across the world, I think is one step that we should be able to take to be able to strengthen progress. How can we benefit from these initiatives, these negotiations, these bilateral relationship we are building? So I think this is one reason why the minister was being able to take. I'm being told that the minister of information is also at this forum there in Belgium, and with other schools of government workers are there. So that's one thing. We want to say kudos to Madam Beslo Yanti, and finance minister is also there too in this business forum, and we hope that this initiative can be able to bring some level of change in our private sector, and exactly what exactly we want to see happening. And we also uh, want to say that there's a lot we saw on today, the situation they're sparking with the dues of the law school at the University of Liberia, something that was being raised by Martin Colley, who is an activist in exile, trying to, bring people to book for academic scandals. And all I can say is that basically uh, we are in a country that people, especially when it comes to doing the right thing for education, needs to be done. It's not just about us having ourselves come in and just doing anything. But the president of the University of Liberia, Dr. Leila Mapayan, stated that what Mr. Colley said was not true, and Miss Azetta Jones Hall is duly recognized as the dues of the law school for this graduating class, the 105th graduating class there at the University of Liberia. So let me get to our talking points, and let's just focus on them, and then we can move ahead. So yeah, as much as it's just me tonight, I like to wish James a cool speedy recovery. James is not feeling well. He's down with cold, so he can't join the show tonight, but we will make all efforts available to continue on the show and promise to be as regular as we always was, but electrical situation has been one great issue that kept the show, back. So let's listen to this recording, and then I'll play another one we will listen to as well. From there, we can basically go ahead with our discussion. So let's listen to this.
Before before Criminal Code Aid are seeking for some crucial document from Clark Hall Foundations, which is owned by the former First Lady, Clark Buyat. And based on that petition that was filed before the court, Clark Foundations, held by its authority, had questioned the petitions that were filed, petition for a rate of subpoena. A rate of subpoena, the city con calling on them to produce documents that led to the constructions of this building. And according to the resistance that they filed, calling on the court to quash it because it violated the constitutional right and it criminalized them, that they cannot produce evidence against themselves. These were the arguments the lawyer made before the court held about a former Associate Justice Awaken Right and considered Geneton massacre that they filed before the court.
He's a veteran Liberian journalist there at the judiciary, Peter Toby, there, giving some clarity. And let's listen to Councillor Clark Mountain. He's the head of the Asset Recovery Task Force, and he spoke on the case.
Councillor, there were several cases the judge cited in his ruling that led to what we ruled today concerning Clark Foundation. What do you hope for after this?
The matter, they are taking a plea to the Supreme Court, and we are prepared to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is not an institution that will frighten to us. We are prepared to go there legally because we have qualified lawyers that can go to the Supreme Court and argue our case. We argue our case legally and properly before the lower court, and lower court we go to the Supreme Court, we equally go to the Supreme Court. So are you saying that you can get credit before the full bench of the Supreme Court confirmation to this matter? And we are just on procedural issue now, but the public knows that the matter is at its finality, and we will act inconsistent with the law. But deep down into your heart, you need to have a case against them. I don't want to start celebrating and going around. I think Liberian people celebrating, make sure that all assets that have been under conversion from government, a lot of budget, will go back to Liberian people. That is our reason, and that is the condition for which we are seeking.
Now, Council, obviously there has been a really vast targeted on the section to the court's ruling. And so do you think that will be overturned? Because whatever was said by the judge today is literally unbelievable. Not understand. How do you convince the public on that?
So he's Councillor Clark Mountain, and he's the one heading the asset recovery team, and he spoke concerning the case involving the asset recovery and that of the Clark Hope Foundation. And let me just get some other few things as well, and we can just dive a little. And like I said the other day, this is one case that we are following closely, and we are going to follow it with care. It's a legal matter, and our own research will later on come out while we continue with the discussion here. So the Supreme Court did deny Clark Hope Foundation motion to quash the AREP, which is the Asset Recovery Subpoena, right? So the First Judicial Circuit Court A at the Temple of Justice has denied a motion and it was being filed by the Clark Hall Foundation seeking to quash a subpoena issued by the Asset Recovery and Property Retrieval Task Force. So, in a ruling delivered Tuesday today, resident Sacred George Roosevelt Zeweli rejected the foundation's attempt to block the task force from obtaining document related to its operation, right? Document related to its operation, finances, and project activities. So George Willie held the subpoena issue by the AREPTF was consistent with its mandate to investigate and retrieve public assets allegedly misappropriated. He emphasized that no institution is exempted from lawful scrutiny and that compliance with investigation processes is required under Liberian law. So now they are saying, let me just break it little by little per what we understand, right? The Clark Hall Foundation was being requested by the asset recovery team, to present all documents, finances, and support they got from individuals, institutions, and wherever they got, money to fund the Clark Hall Foundation project. And then, and now that they they file, you know, they are subpoenaed to quash, the AREPTF, request. Now the George, who is currently in charge of the case, George Willie Roosevelt Zewili, rejected the attempt to block the task force, from obtaining documents. So this is my point. Firstly, why were you, as an institution being established on the first lady, why would you now want to basically say, okay, we can't give you our documents, we keep our documents, our financial records, since requesting for it, we'll go back to the court and tell the court that they shouldn't see that necessary for us to do. And if you said you lobby and got these fundings all by yourself, I think that alone should draw a lot of attention to how the foundation came into reality and the process or processes that was undertaken to making sure that the Clark Hall Foundation was being built to help less privileged. And that's one thing we also have to establish, that the Clark Hall Foundation is actually helping, right? Is actually helping less privileged. But again, should that be an excuse for the government to be able to assets as to how the funding came in to build this initiative, as to how much came in and how it was used, especially when you serve as first lady of this country? You had a budget to run. Should that be a reason that the court should say, okay, there's no way we are going to give, these people access to handle, financial records, documents, and everything? So we're taking it little by little. According to the ruling, the Clark Hall Foundation is ordered to produce all documents and material requested by the task force without delay. So now they are asked to produce all of the documents and materials that the task force requested without delaying again. We're all waiting, say, oh, yeah. So you got to do it promptly. So the court further warned that failure to comply could result in legal consequences, including possible contempt proceeding. So what that means is, when the court tells you that a result in possible contempt, it means that you have to do it fast, or else if you act reluctant, it tells the court that you have some way of slowing down the investigation by the asset recovery team. So you have to do that as fast as you can so that the investigation can continue, because you ran an office for the past 6 years under the government as first lady. In as much as we understand you are here to help our people and less privileged children, we understand all of that. And they said the foundation had argued that the subpoena was overly broad and infringed on its operational independence. However, the court ruled that the task force established by the government of Liberia to pursue asset recovery has the authority to demand relevant documentations in the course of its investigation. Of course, you cannot investigate without knowing the total budget of the initiative, how much was spent, what it takes to get such an initiative, and everything. So that's one thing they should take into consideration. Meanwhile, this says the lawyer representing the Clark Hall Foundation has taken an appeal to the Supreme Court of Liberia seeking a reversal of Judge Willie's decision. So that's the last body, the High Court, and that's exactly the last place you can go and ask for, some level of appeal. And once that is granted, then you can also find some how we put this, right? You can also gather some information and position yourself in the best way to be able to overcome and win this situation. You can do that. So that's exactly what it is with the Clark Hall Foundation situation. And let's just take a deeper look at this again and see how it goes, right? So let's see how we get this. So let's listen to this from Peter Toby, and then you will understand.
Expected to rule today in this entire matter that the asset recovery team headed by Councilor Edwin Martins has filed a petition before Criminal Code Aid are seeking for some crucial document from Clark Hall Foundations, which is owned by the former First Lady, Clark Buyat. And based on that petition that was filed before the court, Clark Foundations held by its authority had questioned the petitions that were filed, a petition for a radar subpoena, a radar subpoena, the city con calling on them to produce documents that led to the constructions of this building. And according to the resistance that they filed, calling on the court to quash it because it violated the constitutional right and a criminal and they cannot produce evidence against it. Said these were the arguments the lawyer Jonathan Massacre that they filed before the court. Based on these arguments that were heard, the pros and cons, the court finally ruled today, and from the court ruling, Clark Foundation suffers its legal setback, meaning that the petition to quash the entire radar subpoena was denied, and they was given 1 week to produce the document, meaning that the action they filed to quash is not legally sound for the court, looking at all the law that was acted out by Judge Elizabeth Willett, who is presiding over Criminal Code A, and who happened to be the resident judge of Criminal Code A. But following the ruling, the respondent's lawyer, which is Clark Foundations, Wakenright, took an exception to the court ruling and announced an appeal to the Supreme Court consistent with Chapter 24, Section 24.1 and 2 of the Criminal Procedure Law. And by his exception to the court ruling, the court granted it because appeal is a matter of law.
So you listen to the entire overview of the case from P2B, and that's exactly what the entire situation is like right now. So the Clark Foundation is now taking an appeal to the Supreme Court, and while they were also given 1 week ultimatum to provide all of the requested documents that the asset recovery team asked for to be able to carry on the investigation. And also we are looking at the Transport Ministry and the Liberia Traffic Management, right? There is a huge case against these people where the Supreme Court now summons the Transport Ministry, LTM, over vehicle registration dispute. So the court, through its justice in chamber, scheduled a conference in connection with petition of a writ of prohibition filed by the Management of Modern Development and Management Corporation, MDMC, and the head is Mr. John Yoboti. So according to the communication from the Office of the Clerk of the Supreme Court, the conference is set for 10 a.m. on Friday, February 27. The hearing will take place before Associate Justice Yusuf Dikaba, who is presiding in chambers at the Temple of Justice in Monrovia. So this is one thing that has drawn a lot of attention since the induction of the traffic activities into the LTM, the Liberia Traffic Management, from the Ministry of Transport, right? There is a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions. The first thing is, a lot of people at the Ministry of Transport that now work at wherever sector that has been given to the Liberia Traffic Management will no longer have a job there because there's another private entity taking over a specific government institution functions. And another group now, the MDMC, is claiming that they signed, let me look at how many years agreement did they sign. They said the Ministry of Transport, represented by Tyler, it is holding a valid 9-year contractual agreement, 9 years. So another group is saying that they do have a 9-year contractual agreement with the Ministry of Transport, and it could be that they have invested some funds for the contract. They need to work and get their money back. And now the government now turn over lessons, vehicle registration, driver lesson, vehicle lessoning, vehicle registration, a whole lot of other things, including traffic rules and regulations being disregarded by, drivers, or being shift on the Liberia Traffic Management. And this is something that these guys are now, coming out, in as much as there have been a lot of other protests when the news broke out that the issue of driver lessons and other things was gonna, shift over to the Liberia traffic management. And I think government should be very critical in looking at these kind of situations and making sure that we can be able to handle them properly. And in as much as is a national situation, vehicle registration, if not done properly, there's a lot of funding that government is going to miss out. Government do need money to be able to function properly. But again, if government needs money, they should be strategic and understand how to be able to make this money. You cannot just make any decision. There's no time to blame who did this, who did this. I believe that the right time now is government itself come up and handle these situations. Transport Ministry of recent launched new kind of lesson plate, asking people to go and register their vehicle. I think that will also be supervised by the LTM, Liberia Traffic Management. Driver lessoning is also done at the LTM. And, there's a lot of complaints and whole lot of cries from, drivers in the traffic. Oh, we in the traffic, and there's a lot of tickets and a whole lot of things. But I think we wait and see what the Supreme Court have to say about the situation, and basically we can now be able to understand where that will lead. We can now see where that will lead. So let's quickly talk about this issue of the Earth movie equipment, right? The government said they received the first batch of the Earth movie equipment, and they are here, and that has already have a committee being set up by the president. It is being coordinated or supervised or chaired by former defense minister Brani Samuka of Lofa County. And he spoke about how certain counties we have over 4-8 and how the machines will be distributed across the length and breadth of our country, Liberia, and how basically we can be able to have development coming in through roads connectivity, farm to market roads connectivity, feeder roads connectivity. And it's one thing that it says is going to bring a lot of development across Liberia. So let's see how the machines go about making sure that government is able to. Okay, let me just share this on the screen. And government is fully able to handle the situation. So let me share this. Okay. So these are the machines. This is it. And the first batch arrived in country. That is it. The first batch. and the president, uh, exactly as you can see, yeah, the first batch of these machines. So and there's a whole lot of excitement, right? Just this article alone, it tells you how excited people are. So in a major step, this is an article, right? Liberia long-standing infrastructure defeats President Boakai. On Monday, personally witnessed the arrival and offloading of the first batch of 137 earth-moving machines at the National Port Authority, operated by APM Terminals, making a significant milestone in the government's national road construction agenda. The delivery represents the fulfillment of key campaign and governance pledged by the Broadcast administration to rehabilitate and expand Liberia's road network, one of the most critical bottlenecks of economic growth, regional integration, and service delivery in the West African nation, Liberia. So, let me see. Official says the framework include centralizing access tracking, counter-based development schedules, operator training and certification, maintenance and spare parts management system, nationwide import across all counties. According to the Ministry of Public Works and Development Planning's, each of Liberia's 15 counties will receive a designated share of the machine, ensuring equitable distribution and reducing historic regional disparities in infrastructure investment. The initiative is expected to open farm to market roads, improve access to money and forestry corridors, support county level development agenda, reduce transport costs and travel times, government commendation, and economic outlook. Among the first senior official to publicly commend the initiative was Minister of Finance and Development Planning, and just like that, just like that. So these machines arrive on Monday, and exactly the president witnessed the arrival of these machines, and everything went as smooth as we expected. And again, so we are looking at few things. The government says connection. How long, right? In terms of maintenance, this is one thing I will always stress on when it comes to government initiative. The issue of maintenance is something that we don't pay keen attention to. Maintenance. We do not pay keen attention to maintenance to the extent that the recent NTA buses brought in the country, I've seen a lot of them being mismanaged by the drivers. I don't know if the NTA actually check these buses when they go and park them in the fence there, or it's just a don't care thing. I think they should have a structure, especially for these public entities that provide transportation, and not just transportation, but government materials should be well taken care of, maintained properly, because these funds that are used to procure or get these materials are all government money that was being paid by struggling Liberians who are taxpayers, who, if you even ask them, they are not even ready to pay these taxes, but they have to. So we should also look at maintenance as a critical part of this. How is the government going to maintain these machines in good shape. Mind you, a single part of one of these yellow machines, very, very expensive. Will we always have a fixed amount in the budget to maintain these machines? Will we always, or will the government also bring a strategy that people who wants to use them can be able to pay something small and well manage them and get funding back? These are questions that needs to be answered. These are things that we want to be, hearing when these machines are brought in and ready for distribution. You cannot just distribute. I remember a, a private entity, I won't mention their name, that they took a road project from the previous government back in Margibi, and they brought most of their machines. The machines went down, it couldn't move no longer, and it took them rack of ages to even get those machines off the site. To tell you how expensive it is. So we should also be looking at all of these things thoroughly and be able to tell ourselves what exactly can we do as people to maintain these machines? What exactly should the government be able to put in place to be able to handle these machines properly? Bringing them into the country is something great. Exactly. Something awesome. Something good that we all are excited about. But how is it that we are going to maintain in terms of maintenance? Imagine you should have a very certified mechanic that really knows how to work on these kinds of machines. Yeah, it need fuel. Is government going to be responsible to provide fuel for all of them everywhere there will be a sign? Or would there be a strategy that each county that these machines will be taken to, the county officials can be able to, find a revenue to be able to source whatever fund of development they want in that area? These are questions that we want to be answered. That's exactly what we need. We appreciate these machines coming into the country. I think one thing I can say, I think it will now give some tough time to these guys who charge exorbitant funds to government to be able to use their own machines. And I think we need more of this happening, especially for the Ministry of Public Works. If government can be able to get machines that take care of the road, machines that are able to build roads, bridges, and everything, we get people trained in these areas. Do you know how much millions of dollars we spend on building roads by foreigners? I think but the fact that President Bwaka thought of bringing in these 137 machines into the country is a great idea. And I think we should now start looking further as to how we can expand on bringing in more equipment as a government that will be able to, you know, let the government bring more of these things for us, every sector that responsible. Ministry of Agriculture, get, things to do and be able to, farm, make your own food, produce them, let people be able to buy them. Ministry of Public Works, be able to build drainages, perfect roads, and everything. Ministry of Commerce, able to regulate the commercial activities in our country. Finance regulates this properly, and things that need to be provided. Of course. So we like to say kudos to the president for bringing in these machines into the country. And kudos to the counter initiative. We just hope and pray that the chair on the group, or the chair on that committee, can be able to supervise the initiative properly. Also to the Claho Foundation issue, I think if you have worked in a public sector and people feels that you took away some funds from that sector to be able to use it for your personal gain, and you are accountable once you've worked in a public environment for government, serving as first lady, you had a whole budget on our country. So you are accountable and shouldn't be finding a way to run away from being accountable to the public. We know you are able to provide all of those documents. Do it. Show to us that whatever the asset recovery is saying about the building of the Claho Foundation, it's not true. Let us hail you for win a case against them, if that is possible. And we'd like to say thanks to, all of you for following us tonight. Speedy recovery to James Aku. He's not feeling well. And we hoping to be here on Thursday with a brand new presentation. My name is William McGill, and that's how we call this a day.
I cannot go to school, cause no more money. Hey yo, excuse me, Mr. Journalist, I wonder how you make your headlines in the press release a day. Although I read the news every day, but I'm really still getting confused now, and I just wanna ask you some questions. Oh, is it based on money? Is it based on presidency? Is it based on technology? Is it based on war? Tell me, we are major headlines. Oh, we are major story.